we had a big problem in Grant County. Just a show of hands, anybody in here tired of catch and release? No one was more tired of it than me on the bench. And let me tell you, in 2016, the law was changed. Many of you may be aware that we did have a constitutional amendment that they called bail reform. It was really masked as a deceptive practice, convincing people that if you voted for this amendment, it would allow judges to put dangerous people in jail. Here's what they didn't tell you. Judges didn't have the ability to make that decision on their own. It requires a strong prosecutor. Everything about our law is driven by the prosecutor. They have to file a motion. They have to come prepared for court. They have to be ready to present evidence. And if they don't, the judge's hands are tied, and there is nothing the judge can do about it but release a dangerous person back out into your community and my community. We don't feel good about that. Shortly after my retirement, I got to thinking, first of all, I think we need some law change, but that's a whole other story. What can we do right now? We have to get a strong district attorney. So I ran into a couple of narco officers that I knew from the biz, and I said, y'all heard from Norm Wheeler? And they said, yeah, we're still in touch. I said, well, have him call me. And many people may not realize this. Norm called me, and I said, Norm, we need you. We need you as our DA, because we've got a severe problem. Our community's not safe anymore. We've got to get a strong prosecutor in there. What does a good DA have to have? First of all, we need a prosecutor, not a politician. Woo! Right? Norman's not a politician. Any of you that have already talked to him or not met him, he's the antithesis of a politician. First of all, he's got that quiet confidence, right? Secondly, he's humble. Getting him to toot his own horn is like getting him to pull teeth, right? So I'm going to toot it for him, because I'm going to tell you what he won't. The DA has to be a prosecutor, not a politician. What does that mean? When Norm was a prosecutor in my courtroom, he showed up prepared. He always was well-versed in the law, and he came ready to fight for you. He had already gotten his case ready to go. He talked to the victims. He had law enforcement ready to go. And every time he presented a solid case, may not have always got the verdict in his favor, but not for fear of trying. The other thing about a good prosecutor is they have to be willing to continue to fight for accountability after the initial trial and judgment. When somebody violates their conditions of probation, or somebody who got released violates those conditions of release, it takes a prosecutor to get that case back into the court in front of the judge and say, hey, I'm making a motion to revoke that probation. I'm making a motion to revoke those conditions of release. The prosecutor that I knew that would consistently bring those arguments is Mr. Norm Wheeler. And that's what we need. What else do we need in our DA? We need a leader. We have to have a leader that knows how to set up their DA's office. They have to set high standards, and they have to prioritize everything that needs to be done in that office that's driven towards community safety. They have to hire competent attorneys. And then they have to get out of the way and let those attorneys do their job. We need to have a DA who wants to do what's best for all of us and get politics out of it. And what we have now is a DA who cares more about securing his next political election than pursuing the cases that you all need to go to court. Finally, we need an advocate for the people, not a politician. What does that mean? That means we need somebody who knows the community. We need somebody who can get out there, talk to the people, see what's going on in your neighborhood, what's going on with your business, what do we need to do to help. Norman mainly managed felony cases, drug trafficking, violent felonies when he was in my courtroom, but he was also the go-to guy that these law enforcement officers would call if they had somebody who was committing non-violent misdemeanors over and over and over. They could call Mr. Wheeler, and Mr. Wheeler would take on those cases and pursue them doggedly in my courtroom on behalf of those victims. In Norman Wheeler, you have an advocate. So I'm asking you, I think most people in this room are already intent on voting for Mr. Wheeler. But what we need you to do is get out there and tell others, these are the reasons we need a district attorney who's got these qualities. We don't want a politician. We want Norman Wheeler for our DA. Thank you all very much.